story takes us into the chilling case of Onthatile Sebati, a 15-year-old girl from a small village in the northwest province whose actions shocked the entire country. She is believed to have plotted the brutal murder of her own family, reportedly driven by the promise of financial gain and a desire to break free from the tight rules her parents enforced at home. Onthatile was born in 1999 in the quiet village of Mmakau, tucked away in the northwest province. Despite its quiet, rural nature, this village would become the backdrop of one of the most disturbing stories involving a young teenager in South Africa. Her dad worked as a police constable at the Hebron police station, and on top of that, he served as a pastor at a local 12 Apostolic church. He even ran his own funeral business. With all of that, you can picture how respected and influential he was in the community. Family members say that when Onthatile was younger, she was sweet, well-mannered, and always listened. But once she hit her teenage years, things shifted. She started pushing back and acting out. As time went on, she started drinking, and things went downhill fast. Then came the night of December 6th, 2016, a date that would change everything. At just 15 years old, Onthatile, together with her two cousins, Tumelo and Kagiso Makone, who were both 18 at the time, followed through with a plan to wipe out her entire family. According to Tumelo, who is now one of the convicted killers, this wasn't something that came out of nowhere. He told the court during the trial that back in November of that same year, Onthatile had first reached out to him on Facebook, then later on WhatsApp. She opened up about how she felt trapped at home, describing her mother as overly strict and saying she couldn't breathe under all the rules. She said she wanted out desperately. Later on, she contacted him again, this time with an actual plan forming. And during the trial, Tumelo revealed something even more disturbing. This wasn't Onthatile's first attempt at harming her family. Months before the shooting, she had allegedly tried to poison everyone by mixing sleeping pills into a meal her mother was cooking. But her mother noticed that the food smelled strange, threw it away, and unknowingly saved the entire family from that first attempt into ending their lives. Eventually, when the plan with her cousins was set, Onthatile met up with them on the day of the murders. She even handed them her father's firearm, his service pistol, which they then used to carry out the shocking crime. On the night of December 6th, everything unfolded. Around 11 p.m., her two cousins arrived at the house. Onthatile acted like she was just stepping out to throw away the dishwater, but that was just the cover story. Once she was outside, she quietly opened the gate for them. The cousins slipped into the house while she stayed outside on lookout. Inside, they began their attack. Their first target was the father, 42-year-old Solomon. After shooting him, they turned to the mother, 41-year-old Matshepo. Onthatile's older sister was 19 years old and 8 months pregnant at the time, and the attackers killed her as well. They didn't stop there. They also took the life of Onthatile's little brother, 3-year-old Quinton. After the gunmen fled the scene, Onthatile contacted the police. She told them she had also been shot. Police officers described her injury as a shallow flesh wound, nothing deep or life-threatening. But the truth eventually came out as the two cousins were leaving. She allegedly asked them to shoot her in the thigh so she'd look like a victim and make the story more convincing. It's chilling to think about a 15-year-old was not only planning the murders of her own family, but also deliberately staging her own injury just to make the whole plot seem believable. In her statement to the police, she revealed that after being shot in the leg, she had pretended to be dead. This was the only reason she survived. Backtracking a bit, she explained that when she opened the gate for her two cousins who carried out the murders, she also gave them her father's car keys to his Chrysler Voyager, which they then used as their escape vehicle. However, their getaway didn't go smoothly. The car got stuck in the mud and they ended up abandoning it in the same block of Black Rock in Mmakau village. The case initially took an unexpected turn. On January 13th, the following year, about 5 weeks after the crime on December 6th, two men, whose names I won't mention as they were later cleared, were arrested and charged in connection with the murders. At the time, one was 29 and the other 38. But in early 2018, a high court judge dismissed the case, citing insufficient evidence, and both men were acquitted and discharged. When these two men were first arrested, investigators initially believed the murders might be linked to gang activity. Understandably so, when an entire family is wiped out, leaving only a single surviving daughter, it shocks the community. The victims included a pregnant daughter, a 3-year-old boy, a loving mother, and a father who was both a community leader and a dedicated public servant. The sheer brutality of the crime understandably left the community reeling, making the initial gang-related theory seem plausible. In 2018, as mentioned earlier, a high court judge ruled that there wasn't enough evidence to move forward with the case, so the charges against the two accused were dropped. However, from 2016 until December 2021, the case remained unresolved. It was in December 2021, when Onthatile was 21, that she allegedly confessed to family members. The exact reason for her confession is unclear, but it's believed she may have been under the influence of drugs when she spoke to her relatives. They reportedly advised her to go to the police and admit to the crimes. Onthatile did so, detailing her involvement alongside her two cousins, Tumalo and Kagiso. In her confession, she didn't present herself as the mastermind. She claimed the three of them had planned the attack together to gain money and for her to gain freedom. However, her cousins, who had also confessed, stated that Onthatile had actually been the mastermind and that they were recruited into the plan with the promise of receiving money. It's important to remember that Onthatile was only 15 years old when the murders took place. A few years later, after turning 18, she received money from her father's Provident Fund. It's unclear whether she gained any other benefits, such as insurance payouts or other financial gains, but it is confirmed that she did receive a sum of the money. As of now, there are no news reports specifying the amount that was in her father's Provident Fund. What is known, however, is that she paid her cousins 50,000 rands each for carrying out the murders. This was the sum she gave them once she received the money. Their trial began in 2022, but complications arose when all three of them later withdrew their confessions, claiming they had been coerced or intimidated by the police. One of the shooters, Tumalo, even stated that he was under the influence of alcohol when he signed his statement. Despite these claims, the judge allowed the confessions to be admitted as evidence. In addition to the confessions, there was proof showing that Onthatile had indeed paid her cousins 50,000 rands each, likely leaving a paper trail linking the three of them to the payments for their involvement in the murders. Fingerprints linking Tumalo and Kagiso to the Chrysler were also discovered, which became a key part of the strong evidence against them, as well as Onthatile. The trial concluded in January 2024, with all three being found guilty on multiple charges, including murder, theft, robbery with aggravating circumstances, possession of a firearm, and possession of ammunition. The distinction between the firearm and ammunition charges is likely a legal technicality we don't need to dive into. All three were convicted, and on October 23, 2024, they were sentenced. Tumalo and Kagiso, who were both 18 when the crime took place, were tried as adults and each received 4 life sentences served concurrently, which effectively counts as a single life sentence. Onthatile, however, was sentenced under the Child Justice Act since she was only 15 at the time of the crime. She did not receive a life sentence. Instead, she was given a sentence of 15 to 25 years for murder, backdated to the time the crime occurred in 2016, meaning the clock on her sentence started 8 years earlier. As I have said, Onthatile was sentenced to 25 years for murder, but after subtracting the years accounted for under the Child Justice Act, her effective sentence comes to only 17 years. In South Africa, she would be eligible for parole after serving roughly half of that time. On top of the murder sentence, she also received 10 years for robbery with aggravating circumstances, 5 years for theft, 5 years for possession of a firearm, and another 5 years for possession of ammunition. While the total sentences add up to around 50 years, most of these sentences run concurrently. This means that her effective time in prison is essentially the 25 years for murder, minus the 8 years credited from her age at the time of the crime, leaving her with 17 years. Considering parole eligibility after serving about half the sentence, it's likely that she will spend no more than 10 years behind bars for her role in planning and executing the murders of her entire family. which is disappointing if you consider that she was the mastermind in this brutal crime where 4 people lost their lives, of them was even pregnant. During sentencing, Kagiso and Tumalo asked the court for leniency, citing their age at the time they committed the crime, and they had no previous criminal records. However, the prosecutor asked the court to impose the prescribed minimum sentences, arguing that the crime was very serious, coupled with lack of remorse, warranted no lesser punishment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss an update.